In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how I figure out doing multiples when you find a pattern you love and it's not available in the size that you prefer. Let me show you how I go through figuring out how many stitches I need to start with in order to figure out the multiples on a special stitch, just like this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we have a pattern and I'm going to show you how to do multiples. Now I've really never ever shown a specific tutorial on how to do it, and today I'm about to do that. So I've run into a pattern where this is the entire panel that they want you to do in the pattern, and I just think to myself, what if this was a larger size panel or maybe even a full-size afghan? What do I need to do in order to figure out what is the multiple in order to get these big wave shells and the popcorn in order to make it work? Now what is unique about this is that the popcorn appears only once in the inside, so when I go to try to figure this out, it's not just a matter of just guessing. You have to figure it out because there's never going to be a popcorn on either side. So we have a very unique looking pattern here, and what do we need to do in order to figure that out? Let me take you through the steps that I do in order to make it work. My step one is to create a crochet diagram. If you don't know how to create these, you know, this is not really a big deal. It does take time getting used to understand the symbols in order to make it work. But I have a hard time visualizing the stitches when it's in written words such as a paragraph, so I like to draw it out and use the symbols in order to see exactly what we've done just for this. So this is exactly the pattern as it shows. This is the panel as it shows, but now I want to figure out how to make it bigger. So the first thing I need to do is that I need to draw one of these so I can physically count the stitches in order to make it work. But there's a little more to this than just counting stitches. The unique thing about this particular pattern is that we have a popcorn that is right in the center. There's no popcorn on either side, so the figuring out the multiples gets a little bit complex because what's going to happen is that we want to make sure that the waves or the shells are going to be appearing on the outside, and there's never ever popcorns on the outside edges, and because of that it kind of throws me off visually on what I need to do. So here's the pattern as it's written, but how can I help myself in order to make this work? This is what I've done. So without ruining my sketch, I take a photocopy on my printer and I can see this, so I can write my notes on it so I can figure out all the math without ruining my nice template that I've worked with. So what I want to do is that I want to take two copies and take one, and I want to cut exactly right where the pattern starts to repeat itself. So I want to make sure that there's going to be a popcorn on this side. So instead of having to redraw everything, I take a photocopy and I cut out a piece of the pattern so that I can overlay it, and I keep moving the pattern and moving the pattern until they exactly will overlay each other just like this. And so now I can see what it's gonna look like when there's another popcorn after the middle shell, and I can now figure out confidently how many stitches that I'm gonna have to do. So let me take you to the next part. Now with my diagram put together, I would just use a piece of tape, but in this case I photocopied it for easier holding on to here for the video. So what I want to look for is what are the commonality of stitches that exist between the patterns. So we can see it's like wallpaper, and what we need to figure out is where the edges of the wallpaper come down in this pattern. So what I'd like to do is that I like to count, the popcorn seems to be a very centerpiece here, so I'm gonna draw a line coming down from the popcorn. And what I want to do is that I want to look and see how this is a plus sign here. This is a single crochet, and I can see another single crochet over here and one over here and so forth. But I never ever want to count two of these single crochets at the same time because it appears that this single crochet is the next launch for the next one, if that makes any sense. So you don't ever want to count single crochet to single crochet because then that means, see the popcorn, you'd be counting an extra stitch. So what I like to do is that I like to count backward from this popcorn to where I started, and what I want to do is that seeing that this plus sign seems to be a common factor, I want to stop just before it. So let me count this stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And so I'm going to say this is 8 because the plus sign is next. So I'm thinking at this point that the multiple is 8, but I can verify that. So I jump and I'm gonna put another line down in the first single crochet. See how we have one down over here? I'm gonna put a line down here and count from that spot, and let's just count 8 and see where it takes us. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and I'm right below the popcorn. So I'm gonna put another line here. So now I can see that this 8 landed and the last one was the popcorn, and so it is this time. So I write 8 again. So then I'm gonna do it again one more time, and it's just a self-verification. So I'm gonna count again. So 1, 2, 3. So the first one is, I'm just gonna put a line down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And look at that. So now I'm starting to think, okay, the multiples of 8, but how many extra stitches do I need in order to pull this off? Because I have one left over here and I have one left over here. So I'm guessing that the stitch counts on these are multiples of 8 plus 2. Let me pull up my other sheet, and this is what I figured out when I was not on camera. So upstairs in my office I had already figured this out, that it was 8 plus 2, and I did them. This is the actual working sheet that I did, and I drew my lines down so I could physically see that it was 8. But what I need to keep in mind is that there's always something extras on edges, and you see in multiples it's always like 6 plus 3, or it's like 2 plus 1, etc. But in order to have this pattern repeat itself, in order to accommodate the shell plus the popcorn, it has to stay in multiples of 8. So I end up with an extra one at the end that's not accounted for. Okay, and I end up with one right in the very beginning that's not accounted for. So that is 1 and 2. So I can go in multiples of 8. So 1, 2, 3. So there's 3 multiples of 8 here. So I go 8, 8, and 8. I can go as big as or as small as I want to. I can have lots of 8s, and then at the very end of the chain I'm just gonna add 2 in order to keep myself back in balance, so that I can get this first one in there, as well as I can get this one right over here. That was the starting of the chain. So that's how I figure out my multiples, and this is a complex pattern, but it's still all done the same way. When I figure out multiples, this is exactly how I do it each and every time. You see me writing diagrams all the time with the video tutorials. That's how I figure it out, so that when I give you advice on what the multiples are, I've already figured it out through my diagram in order to make it work. So hopefully that's information that helps you today. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Have a great day. Bye bye.